Hi, everybody. I'm Ashleigh Banfield, and it's Sunday, and I am in my Sunday tracksuit. Look, I don't typically do a whole lot of work on Sundays, and it's not because it's the Lord's Day or anything like that. I just work really hard during the week, and I try to get downtime when I can on the weekends. But I can't today because it's Diddy Day tomorrow. And I had to talk to you about this. Something that I just cannot believe. And it's not about the charges and it's not about the guys. It's about the speed at which we are at trial. Because Diddy's facing a lot of really serious charges that could put him away for the rest of his natural life. And he's only been arrested till now. It's only 8 months since he was arrested to trial. And all I can think is Kohberger is 2.5 years. Granted, that's a quadruple murder and it's death penalty. However, 8 months is I've got relish in the fridge that's 8 months old, right? 8 months is so fast. And to go through the amount of evidence that prosecutors had to go through and defense attorneys had to go through, all the terabytes of video and emails and communications and you name it, I don't know how they could have done it in 8 months. So I can't believe that tomorrow is upon us. That said, this is drop dead serious. I've got this for you tonight. I am going to give you soup to nuts. If you've been following the headlines about Diddy, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, a.k.a. his real name, Sean Combs, and you've been thinking, what the hell is actually going on with that case? You are not alone. The accusations and now the criminal charges are jaw-dropping. Sex trafficking, racketeering, drug-fueled orgies, surveillance, witness intimidation, and behind all of it, one of the most powerful figures in the music industry of all time. So before we go through the timeline and all the alleged facts that led up to Diddy's upcoming federal trial that starts tomorrow, I want to take a beat and I want to walk you through who this man really is. Because understanding the gravity of these charges means understanding the gravity of Diddy. This isn't just a music producer who partied a little too hard in the 90s. This is Sean Diddy Combs, a man who built an empire from the ground up, rags to riches. He made billions, and he stood shoulder to shoulder with presidents and pop stars and everything in between. Diddy started out as an intern. Seriously, he was an intern at Uptown Records. I told you it was rags to riches, right? But by 1993, Diddy had launched Bad Boy Records, and it didn't take long for that label to become the power player on the East Coast, like the power player. He wasn't just behind the scenes either. He was the scene. He made hits. He discovered talent. He launched careers. Faith Evans, Mace, and of course the notorious B.I.G., that partnership between Biggie and Diddy, it didn't just change hip-hop, it defined it. Their rise wasn't just meteoric, it was cultural. But it was also complicated. Biggie was reportedly considering a break from Bad Boy right before he was gunned down in 1997. That murder is still unsolved, and it left behind a cloud of grief and a whole bunch of questions. Now fast forward 2 years to 1999, when Diddy was dating J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez. Yeah, if you're too young to know it, it was huge. Diddy and J-Lo, it was everywhere. Yeah, before Ben and Jen. So Diddy and J-Lo, that was the height of both of their fame. They were young and they were rich and they were absolutely everywhere. But then came Club New York, December 27th, 1999. Diddy and J-Lo were at a nightclub in Manhattan when a fight broke out and then shots rang out. 3 people were injured. Diddy and J-Lo jumped into a Lincoln Navigator and took off, fled the scene. But the police caught up with them both. And inside that vehicle, a loaded 9mm handgun. Diddy was arrested along with his bodyguard on weapons charges, and J-Lo was even hauled in. It was the kind of headline that you do not forget. Lopez was cleared very, very quickly. Okay, let's be clear about that. She was cleared. But Diddy, not so fast. He was hit with charges for weapons possession and bribery And prosecutors say he tried to pay off his driver to take the fall for the gun. It took 2 years, but in 2001, Diddy was acquitted. He beat the rap. Not so for the up-and-coming rapper named Shine, who was with him that night. He got a 10-year sentence for firing the shots. So yes, Diddy's always had fame and power and influence, but also proximity to violence, guns, and scandal. Today, Diddy is worth an estimated $400 million, thanks to his empire of music and fashion and liquor and media ventures. And since the early 2000s, Diddy has racked up 3 Grammys, multiple MTV and BET awards, and even a CFDA Fashion Award, cementing his status not just as a mogul, but as a cultural force. And the question now, as he faces federal charges for sex trafficking and racketeering, is whether the same man who dodged prison back in 2001 can do it again in 2025. So today I'm going to walk you through the full timeline of how we got here, from the first explosive lawsuit to the upcoming federal trial that could put Diddy behind bars for the rest of his life. And really, if you think of this, how crazy is it to fly so close to the sun if he's guilty, right? If you have it all, how crazy is it to be so reckless? If you know you might be, pushing the envelope, even if you're not exactly sure if you're breaking the law, but you think you might be, why would you? You have it all. You have so much to lose. Again, if he's guilty. But when was the last time we had somebody this kind of flashy, right? Someone of this star power in this kind of a trial? I was thinking back to Michael Jackson. Those charges were ugly, right? Sex crimes against kids. He walked. Harvey Weinstein, that was real dirty and pretty big, right? R. Kelly, oof, ugly. And his name became a joke forever after. Wesley Snipes. Some of these are federal, some of these are state. Danny Masterson, Bill Cosby, Jared Fogle, Peter Nygard, Martha Stewart. Whenever you get someone who is so big and flashy, walking into a courtroom, cameras are there, whether they are allowed inside the courtroom or not. Cameras will watch you walk in, and they'll watch you walk out, and they'll watch to see if you get cuffed, and they'll watch to see if you walk. Some of those people I just listed out, they got away with a lot. Some of those people I listed out got away with nothing. Let's rewind, shall we, to November of 2023. That's when Cassie Ventura, a singer and Diddy's longtime ex-girlfriend, dropped a bombshell civil lawsuit. And in that lawsuit, she accused Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Sean Combs of a decade of horrific abuse. We're talking about rape, repeated beatings, and being forced to perform sex acts with male sex workers while high on drugs, in what she said were elaborate, camera-filled sex parties that we all know now Diddy called freak-offs. She also said she was trafficked across state lines and filmed without her consent. The lawsuit came under New York's Adult Survivors Act just one day after it was filed, though. It was settled. Gone. Out of court. One day after it was filed. Almost like he had to be pushed until filing day. For whatever reason, he let filing happen and settled right away, hoping maybe no one saw it. Yeah, that doesn't happen. When your name is Sean Combs, I think there's an algorithm now that just probably combs every court record in America for famous names. If it gets filed, it's going on the TV, right? So this one with Cassie settled out of court, no admission of wrongdoing, no public apology, just gone. But the allegations didn't disappear. In fact, they triggered a much, much bigger problem. An investigation led by the federal authorities. They basically looked at Cassie's lawsuit as a blueprint for how to study this guy and see if he committed crimes. Fast forward to March 25th, 2024. This was a scene straight out of a movie, like Homeland Security agents descending upon Diddy's homes, raiding his homes in Los Angeles and Miami. And the raid happened simultaneously, right? They were not just looking for documents. According to officials, they were searching for evidence tied to a sex trafficking enterprise. And sources say agents seized 96 electronic devices, as well as hard drives, narcotics like ketamine and ecstasy, and several unregistered, illegally modified firearms. Oh, and I almost forgot. The thing that really made this story take off. They seized, they said, more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and sex lubricants. And yeah, I'm with you. That one sounded like it was a typo, like too insane to be true. I cannot wait for that day of testimony. I can't wait for all the photos. But all of it became part of a sweeping federal case that prosecutors say lays out a, quote, criminal enterprise. Remember those words, criminal enterprise. It is so key to the case and what the jurors are going to have to decide. Criminal enterprise. Get into it later. But they say that this criminal enterprise dated back 2 decades. In September 2024, the first federal indictment dropped, and Sean Diddy Combs was officially cuffed, arrested in Manhattan. And the charges? Sex trafficking, racketeering, obstruction of justice, kidnapping, bribery, conspiracy to transport individuals across state lines for prostitution. Prosecutors say that Sean Combs used his entire business empire, including Bad Boy Records and his alcohol brands, as a cover in order to recruit, groom, and exploit and silence his victims. And that he did it repeatedly for years. They call it the, quote, Combs enterprise. And the centerpiece of it? You guessed it, the freak-offs. And I'm betting that maybe the baby oil too, if I read the prosecutor's indictment right. According to the indictment and multiple witnesses, Diddy hosted private sex parties where women were allegedly drugged, coerced, and filmed without their consent, sometimes forced to perform sex acts on strangers or male sex workers. And if they said no, the indictment says that violence and intimidation weren't just possible, they were the norm. One victim says Sean Combs once dangled someone off a balcony just to send a message. Now, if you're wondering whether this is all just based on Cassie's word, it is allegedly not just based on Cassie's word. The indictment includes at least 2 named victims and a whole slew of unnamed ones. Tania Wallace, who claims she's been at a freak-off and said she saw children, and it was hard for her to say it.
It was very hard for her to say it, Ashleigh. So what she said was that she was flown out from LA to Miami by the Saudi prince. And they ended up eventually on Star Island at one of Diddy's parties. She says, you know, among many other things, I mean, she goes into detail. This, she says, happened in 2018. She says that she walked into the house and there was a cluster of adults around what she described as little people. And they were dressed up as Japanese Barbies. I forgot the name. It's Harak something. You can help me out here. It's a certain type of Barbie. Anyway.
I know the name, but I've forgotten it. But go ahead.
So she explained that that they were just clustered around these little people. And I kept pushing her. And she eventually said, look, they are little people who should not be at an adult party. And I pushed her, and it was apparent what she was saying is they were minors. Now, she didn't see anything specific that was going on with them other than that adults were kind of huddled around them. But she told just a wild story about what was going on at the house, even at 7 a.m, that this thing apparently raged all night long.
You know, it's amazing. TMZ always gets such great scoops, and this one might be one of your best as well. You got a hold of one of the freak-off tapes. Your producers have seen it. The description is, and I'll quote, "It's porn directed by Diddy himself." And a male sex worker really sort of walks through what happened in the experiences that he had. They didn't sound illegal, but they sure seem to comport with a lot of the other stories that have been told. And in April of 2025, prosecutors filed a superseding indictment, basically more, bigger, ouch. It expanded the timeline and added more charges, including forced labor and even more additional sex trafficking allegations involving a second victim between 2021 and 2024. One alleged victim is expected to testify that Sean Combs drugged and raped her, while a second says she was repeatedly flown across the country for sex under threat of financial and physical harm. Prosecutors say these were not one-off encounters, but that it was a pattern, a system, a business, an enterprise. That's what's key. If the prosecutors can show these jurors that this kind of stuff was a business with unwilling participants, it's game over. They check a lot of boxes. Now, Sean Combs, for his part, has denied everything. And when I say denied everything, every single day. I've had a statement from Sean Combs' legal team saying, not true, no way. These are people with access to grind. You name the denial, but it has come in many different shapes and forms. And Sean Combs has even sued as a, way of combating all of this awfulness that has come his way. Me included.
His lawyers tell TMZ, and I quote, no matter how many lawsuits are filed, especially by individuals who refuse to put their own names behind their claims, it won't change the fact that Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted or sex trafficked anyone, man or woman, adult or minor.
His lawyers say the sexual encounters were consensual and that this is nothing more than a smear campaign driven by fame, money, and opportunism. Remember that old enterprise thing? Well, two can play at that game is basically what they say. They claim that some of the accusers are disgruntled employees and that they've tried more than once to argue that the government is criminalizing Diddy's lifestyle and that his behavior does not amount to actual crimes. It's not illegal to be freaky, right? It's not illegal to have sex parties. It is not illegal to be a swinger. And by the way, prepare to hear the word swinger and swinging lifestyle a whole lot in this case because they actually litigated the ability to say swinger because they don't like freak-offs. But if Sean Combs can tell this jury, hey, y'all, look at me. Yeah, I'm the shit and I'm sexy and I'm a swinger and I do these things and everybody's consenting to it, then he walks, right? It's not illegal to be a swinger. It's not illegal to have big old greasy baby oil sex parties. That's a high road, right, to climb for the feds. Coercion and that kind of stuff, that's tricky.
TMZ's Harvey Levin wondered the very same thing. So he put together a mock jury and he gave them a case. And the results are pretty jaw-dropping. The project is called TMZ Presents, The Downfall of Diddy, The Defense.
But the coercion piece is somebody mentioned about, people wanting their career to blow up or whatever. That's coercion. I mean, it's different modes of coercion. And whether or not, you shouldn't make that choice, you did make a choice, but it's coercion.
That has nothing to do with sex trafficking and prostituting.
No, but
for the purpose of a commercial sex act.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't see the coercion part. Because if he willingly did it and then the person willingly accepted, I don't see the...
I was stunned. I wasn't sure. We showed them the prosecution's case in broad strokes, and we showed them the defense's case because our new documentary is The Downfall of Diddy, His Defense. So we showed them both. And then we asked them to deliberate. It is a diverse group. And I wasn't sure how they were going to dig in to the 3 counts against Diddy. We're talking about racketeering, sex trafficking, and the Mann Act. And I wasn't sure if they'd grasp it, if they'd understand it. And I'm telling you, Ashleigh, they drilled down and they hit big issues. And if you think, as many people do, because of what they've heard, that this is going to be a slam dunk for prosecutors, if you look at this mock jury, it's not. It is not. They had all sorts of questions about consent, that the 3 alleged victims here are ex-girlfriends. And there were some jurors who were raising the issue. How can you show coercion or duress when somebody is in a long-term relationship with him? We raise issues, or they raised issues about the racketeering charge, which requires proof of a profit. And there were jurors who were really questioning, What kind of profit did Diddy make off of all of this? So they really got into it, and they end up voting. And I'm not going to reveal the vote, but it is super interesting.
So the feds, for their part, they are not backing down on any of this. And despite Diddy's legal team's best efforts, Combs has been denied bail. And he's been denied bail over and over again. He put together some really good packages, too. Like he put his mansions up as collateral. Didn't matter. The feds basically said, we are too worried about Diddy getting out. And even if he's like under surveillance and wearing a device on his ankle, and they were so worried about his ability to coerce some of the witnesses and pressure them to not testify or change testimony, they said it can't be done. He can't be released. He has too many sycophantic people around him who will help him do this. So he remains behind bars at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, awaiting the trial of his life. Like a couple decades ago, that was like child's play. That was like weapons. Pfft, that was nothing. This is huge. So what happens next? The trial is scheduled to begin May 5, 2025. Remember I told you I'm wearing my Sunday tracksuit? Because today is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. This thing starts in less than 24 hours in Manhattan Federal Court. And it's expected to last up to 10 weeks. Because again, this is federal court. And by the way, while I'm on the subject of federal court, and this is where I get bitchy, you're not going to see this except in those stupid sketches that always come out of federal court. Because the feds don't allow cameras. Don't get me started. Proceedings will not be televised. Don't get me started. But trust me, the details, yeah, you can't hold that back. Still a public process. Journalists and bloggers and the public, they can still be a part of this process. Yeah, it's still America. We don't hood people, apparently. Although I think when you can't put a camera in a courtroom, you're halfway there. The details are going to spill out of this courtroom every single minute. And if convicted, Sean Diddy Combs could face decades behind bars. And by the way, let me remind you, he may look great, but he is 55 years old. And I will tell you this. Inside the courtroom, he showed up just a couple of days ago with a new fade. And he's like really gray. His goatee is all gray. He's looking a lot older and a lot skinnier. So you'll probably see some kind of, like I said, crappy courtroom sketch that will show a Diddy that maybe you don't recognize. And maybe the jury will think, that's not the Diddy I know. This is a different Diddy. This is an old dude. He doesn't look like a freak-off guy. I mean, looks matter, right? But if they don't think that, and they think he's guilty, Combs could face decades behind bars, and what that means at that age is life. It means life, right? This is not just a celebrity scandal anymore. It is a federal trafficking case built on surveillance devices, victim statements, and years of alleged cover-ups. And you can bet your bottom dollar we're going to be covering it all with daily updates in not a tracksuit. But you know what? Thank you so much for listening to my Sunday rant, right? I'll be back on Monday. I so appreciate having you here. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast, mwah, I really appreciate it. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. I'm Ashleigh Banfield. And please remember, the truth isn't just serious. It's drop dead serious.